Yeah, so I wanted a video that would be less work. So we're doing a reaction video. Yay, woohoo. We're going to be reacting to a relatively old Fantasy Transit map at this point. I think it's 2-ish years old, by the House of Transit, about improving the MBTA, and critique it, I guess. No shade to absolutely anyone. It's a Fantasy Transit map. It's not drama. But I thought it would just be cool to look at and see what my thoughts are.
This is Boston's rapid transit system. Well, maybe rapid is a little generous.
Okay, we're starting off with this one. Love that. Love that.
This is Boston's rapid and green line transit system as it exists.
Bruh. Rapid transit and green line system. Okay, let's just put the average speeds up here. That would be great. I would love that. They're pretty bad. To be fair, he has a point.
I want to add that in the time this video has been in production, the MBTA has endured several serious train fires and other incidents, and 2 lines are now undergoing month-long closures.
Yeah, alright, time to go to full face cam to talk about this one. So, yeah, the T is currently at the time of that video was on fire, basically. The summary of it is that the government at the time was kind of incompetent and gave the T essentially no money for like years on end. So they deferred and deferred and deferred maintenance until it blew up in their face, quite literally. Thankfully, now we have a GM, Phil Eng, who I'll put somewhere up here, and a supportive government who is willing to fund the T and just doubled its operations budget for 2025. Yeah, this has been mostly resolved, and I think at its peak, the slow zones were like 200 of them, and now they're down to like 9, and I think it might be lower now. I'll put the actual number up here. But yeah, it was bad, but it's gotten a lot better since then.
The MBTA's impressive electrification plans, which poised it to become a national leader, have been downscaled to legally require using currently unproven battery technology. Now, more than ever...
Yeah, as I said, shitty government. Very shitty government.
If we really want to improve speed and reliability, we can quad-track the section of tunnel at Boylston, and even, and I know this is basically illegal, straighten the Boylston curve a little.
Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Yeah, the Boylston curve is notoriously bendy, and I'll put some like screeching Boylston curve footage up here. It's bad. As for quad tracking the tunnels, absolutely. Currently they are running on, at peak, 1.5 minute headways with 2 tracks. So it's kind of ridiculous, and their margin for error is next to 0. So if they fuck up, which they have a lot, there are residual delays for basically the rest of the day. And you get trains that are literally waiting in line behind the train that's currently at the station. The other thing to mention is the Green Line signaling in general. There is no signaling in the tunnels because of how it's really quirky, and it's essentially a bus system on rails, because the drivers essentially have full control of their vehicle, and that's why it's not as automated or as fast as like an actual subway, because they need to be able to control them when they're street running. But signal priority on the street should definitely be a thing. I don't know why they haven't done it already. There are Green Line trains that will sit at red lights for a solid 1.5 to 2 minutes, just waiting for the green light. And it's really, really stupid. Because there's too many grade crossings to realistically add gates over all of them, and the gates would be going down far too often. So, I mean, you could remove some of them, but it's kind of just about, whatever. It's just about signal priority, and that's essentially it. And they're also streetcars, so they're not designed to be super fast. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
There's enough room to give the full dedicated right-of-way as long as on-street parking is removed. We will also assume fully low-floor LRVs and level boarding are rolled out across the system, for accessibility reasons.
Yeah, actually, at this time, we now know what the Type 10s look like, and there was a mock-up at like City Hall somewhere that they were doing for a couple days to show off the new trains to the public, and they look really good, and they're supposed to be double the capacity of the current trains. So instead of running these goofy 2-car sets essentially all times of the day, they can now run like normal trains not coupled together. And I know it's normal to do that in North America, but it's just nice not logistically having to do that. And also the fact that they don't have to couple the Type 7s to the Type 8s, because the Type 7s are not ADA accessible, so they have to couple them to the Type 8s, which are. And that presents kind of a logistical bottleneck, because that means if there are Type 7s that can be used, they can't be used without a Type 8. It's just really weird. Anyway, let's keep going.
It's extending the D branch to Auburndale, where it can meet the commuter rail Worcester line. Or more.
Back to full screen again. Wow, that was fast. Yeah, I have a personal connection to this one. I live along the Framingham-Worcester line. I would love this personally. It would make my commute very much more convenient. I don't live at Auburndale, but it would make my, let's just say, emergency backup plan in case shit goes to hell very, very good. Yeah. As for the Auburndale extension, it's a little hard. I've looked at that right of way personally. The tricky thing about it is you have to find space for 2 tracks in an already pretty, it's not like super, here, let me pull up a Google Maps like map, Google Maps map. Ah, yes. So if we look at the Auburndale section, there is definitely room, let's be clear. The problem with it is this right here, this kind of the bridge that goes, or the bridge that takes the Mass Pike over the railroad tracks is not definitely, let's be clear, definitely not equipped to handle 4 tracks plus whatever barrier they need to put in there, like they have on the Medford Tufts section, to get the trains to not affect each other. But I mean, if you look, and I'm totally not personally biased here, because I totally don't live in the other direction, totally not. I don't know what you're talking about. If they just made a switch, because it's hard to see, but like here is I think it's called the Riverside switch. If they just made a different switch in the other direction, which would not be super hard, they're kind of already, you can already kind of see the tree line around here. They would have direct access to this bridge, which already has space for double tracking, and then this bridge, which also already has space for double tracking. And then they just need to build one bridge here, and then they basically have an entire right of way up until about the Wellesley Farm station. And they can probably, like, even here, this double tracks you could fit. And here, there's a lot of room in this right of way to the left. Not personally biased at all. I don't know what you're talking about.
Rail Worcester line.
Worcester. Worcester. Okay. I don't. Fucking hell.
The rail connection can be provided by adding an infill Medford Tufts station on the Lowell line.
I don't know why they didn't do that at the start.
The recently opened...
Yeah, so this is what we call over-engineering. This is the GLX junction at, I believe this is the GLX junction at Riverside Union Square, or Riverside Union Square. The D branch branches off to go to Union Square, goes to the left, and then the Medford Tufts branch kind of continues on straight. This is the most over-engineered junction ever. That transit project was so goddamn expensive.
The Union Square branch is an odd one-stop spur following the Fitchburg commuter rail line, and while an extension would be logical, there is limited right-of-way for a new light rail corridor paralleling the commuter rail line. So instead, I have the Green Line fully replacing the Fitchburg line all the way to a new transfer point between the two at Cedarwood. A branch of this line would follow an existing rail line into Watertown. The Fitchburg line, having been evicted from its core segment, would head down a new alignment paralleling I-95 and using the Worcester line to head into downtown.
That's an interesting alignment. I don't see a point.
The Fitchburg line, having been evicted from its core segment, would head down a new alignment paralleling I-95 and using the Worcester line to head into downtown. This would improve the frequency of service on both core lines, but it would also move all Fitchburg line trains from North Station to South Station, potentially affecting rail traffic. So
No, definitely affecting rail traffic. South Station is, I think, near or at capacity at this point. I don't think you can shove another commuter rail service in there. But I think we're getting to that. I hope we're getting to that, because we really need to talk about that one.
So, further complicating things, I would shift the Worcester and Fitchburg lines onto the existing alignment through Cambridge, adding an underground pedestrian tunnel connecting the line's Kendall MIT station to the existing station of the same name on the Red Line.
And this is where we get to talk about one of my favorite rail branches. This is Grand Junction, by the way. It is the only direct link, direct-ish, the only link full stop between North and South Station within like 50 miles or something ridiculous. So it's understandably used by everyone under the sun who operates commuter rail in the Boston area. So both the MBTA and Amtrak use it. Amtrak uses it to transfer equipment for the Downeaster. But it's a really good right-of-way, and they just don't fucking use it for anything other than equipment transfers. Which, to be fair, very valid, because this right-of-way absolutely sucks. So many grade crossings. The bridge is not in good condition. It's such a critical resource, because it means you can take your capacity away from South Station. Anyway, let's continue.
By using this alignment, two commuter rail lines are both moved back into North Station. I'll talk about why this change matters later. In the meantime, things are getting even crazier, because moving the Worcester line north means a long stretch of track has been left vacant between BU and Back Bay. We can extend the D branch down those free tracks all the way to Back Bay. From there, a short tunnel would be constructed to connect to the abandoned Tremont Street subway. The D would no longer interline with the other Green Line branches. To avoid making this confusing, the B, C, and E branches will maintain the Green Line designation, while the D will become part of the new Pink Line. From the downtown...
You know, I originally thought that was a bad idea, I think, the first time I watched this, and now I'm actually liking it. Let me go to full screen. For some context, the rail right-of-way, actually, the one that the D branch uses, was originally part of what is now the Framingham-Worcester line. The D branch now has a portal that goes into the Green Line tunnels instead of connecting with the Framingham-Worcester line at Lansdowne. So you could definitely get that in there, and that would definitely help. I just worry about capacity issues with Grand Junction, or with going over the Grand Junction branch. And then you've also lost your only north-south rail connection in 50 miles. But he's also getting to that, which I do like. Oh, and you can kind of see it in the map, like up like here-ish, which we'll definitely get to. Ooh.
Town core, this line could head through North Boston and a tunnel up to Charlestown and Chelsea, then follow Highway 1 through dense areas currently unserved by rail.
Yeah, this is also a really good idea. Chelsea, notoriously underserved by the MBTA, as well as that kind of area that he was showing. Definitely needs rail service desperately. Yeah, so good idea.
This new Pink Line would be further extended at the other end near Newton, traveling south to Needham and replacing the Needham line as far as Needham Junction. Oh.
Yeah, this is a good idea. He'll show the alignment, hopefully.
There would also be a deviation to serve Needham north of Needham Heights.
Never mind, this was not the idea I had. What the fuck? Yeah, this would not have been the approach I would have gone for. That's interesting. You can kind of see it here, but the approach I would have gone for would be to take this rail path right here and connect to the already existing tracks at Needham Heights and kind of just follow that railway all the way down to Needham Center or Needham Junction.
With that chaos out of the way, let's look at the Orange Line. Many have suggested extending it all the way along the current Needham Line, which would make sense if the Orange Line was a tram, but alas, that area is comparatively low density, and I've just replaced half the Needham Line with the new Pink Line. I would extend the line as far as West Roxbury, where it would enter a short tunnel to connect to the VA Medical Center. So now every station on the Needham Line has been replaced with some form of rapid transit service, except the enigma that is Hersey. I say enigma because for...
Criticism. Hershey. It's pronounced really weirdly, but that is the way it's pronounced on the train. I have been on this train, so I have personal experience and I have thoughts. I probably would have just... I forgot this wasn't Google Maps. You could probably get away with just keeping it on its existing alignment and just terminating at Hershey, or even better, terminating at Needham Junction. You link up with the Pink Line, whatever the fuck he's calling it.
Except the enigma that is Hersey. I say enigma because for some inexplicable reason, this station in the middle of a forest surrounded by a golf course is the busiest station on the Needham.
Park and ride. Okay, I mean, I have thoughts about this, which are mostly contained to, I don't think we should replace the Needham Line, at least not as far as he's saying. I think the Orange Line currently has a good terminus, but I think it would be hard because ideally what we want to do, and what I'm assuming he's going to talk about next, hopefully, is, actually it might not, depends, but one of the ideas that has been kind of thrown around for a little while is to extend commuter rail service back to Dover using the already existing Bay Colony Rail Trail? Bay something rail trail. I don't remember the name. But there is an existing rail trail that travels all the way to Dover that would be pretty good for commuter rail service because Dover doesn't have any and it's kind of an area that's relatively underserved. But now that we've kind of put the Orange Line along it, it's kind of hard to put service there. It's a trade-off, for sure.
The rapid transit line that needs the most work is the Blue Line. Oh, poor Blue Line, you really need a lot of help. Climate change is not going to treat you well.
Yep.
Currently, it's a little 6-mile line terminating in downtown. From Wonderland, the Blue Line would be extended to Lynn, where provision...
I've actually done this before. Yeah, this is the exact right of way I would have taken. There's a little, I'm assuming it's an intentionally vacant lot that is there for future extensions of the Blue Line. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how easy this was, and it's crazy that they haven't implemented it yet.
I instead propose having the line head through Back Bay east and swing over to replace the Fairmount line all the way to its terminus at Reedville. This would be a relatively cost-effective extension as the Fairmount line is already fully grade separated, and the neighborhoods it serves are quite dense.
Yeah, this is fair. The Fairmount line, I think the MBTA have been looking to replace it with something that isn't a commuter rail for a while, because they desperately need the South Station capacity, but they haven't really figured out what they want, so it's kind of funny. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. If you can get over there, I think is the problem.
I instead propose
yeah, okay, so that's a really sharp curve.
having the line head through Back Bay east and
okay, so he gets it over to
replace.
Then this is some really awkward curve.
There would also be a short tunnel spur to connect to Mattapan Station on the Ashmount-Mattapan line. The commuter rail Reedville yard connects to...
That's not really that necessary. They're literally... Okay, well, Fairmount could... That specific station I've actually been to, that station could definitely use some nice TOD and a sidewalk, frankly. That just seems a little bit pointless. It's a 5-minute walk, and I don't really understand the point. Because that's going to be an expensive tunnel.
Our next target is the Red Line. Overall, it's arguably Boston's strongest transit line, minus the curve under Harvard, and so there isn't too much that needs to be altered.
Okay, well...
Many have proposed extensions all the way to Lexington via the Minuteman Corridor right-of-way, but based on my understanding of the area, I'm not sure that Lexington needs rail rapid transit service. There are existing provisions to extend the line north, and so I believe it makes sense to take it along the corridor into Arlington on an elevated guideway over the trail. The line would terminate at the existing Arlington Heights bus loop, with frequent connecting buses to Lexington.
Yeah, this is a good idea. I have friends who live in Arlington, and yeah, this is a good idea. Suffice to say, this is a good idea. I would question the elevated guideway part of it. So I would probably, it would be a little bit more expensive. It would be a lot more expensive. But I think I would honestly prefer like a segmented cut and cover project where you dig out a section of the or close off the pathway, dig out a section, put tracks down, tunnel, support structures, put dirt and then path back on top of it, and then move on to the next section. And since you know it's not going to be used heavily by cars, you can actually be a bit more liberal with it, I would hope.
The main issue is where the Ashmont and Braintree branches split. They parallel each other for an excessively long distance and could just as easily use the same set of tracks. A new flying junction would be built between the two branches south of Savin Hill, allowing all Red Line trains to stop at the station and to use the same platforms at JFK UMass, improving the passenger experience. This will also allow the commuter rail line.
Yeah, this is actually an issue that I've looked into and has been kind of part of the Cape Flyer video. TM coming soon, I hope. I guess we'll see on that one. But yeah, so the old colony lines, which are, I'm gonna get this wrong, Kingston, Plymouth, Middleborough, and there's one more, Greenbush, that all share a single tracked section with passing sidings from basically Braintree to all the way to like South Station, essentially. So their situation is really, really bad, and they really need to implement that flying junction because the old colony lines desperately need that track, especially for what is upcoming South Coast Rail.
And that parallels this section to be either double or triple tracked. The freed up platforms at JFK UMass will provide space for the terminus of Boston's first all-new transit line, an orbital route.
Good choice. We really need it.
I'd like to talk a little more about the commuter rail network. The infamous north-south rail link should definitely be built, and I think the way it is currently being proposed is pretty well thought out. We'll have 4 electrified tracks and include a new central station interchanging with Aquarium on the Blue Line. The MBTA owns most of its own commuter rail tracks, and as such, every line should without a doubt receive some form of electrification.
Yeah, which is really funny, because we already have electrification, and we're running diesel locomotives underneath the lines. Anyway. Yeah, those lines should be electrified.
The Plymouth line will be extended to the true center of Plymouth, and the Fitchburg line will be taken to Gardner. The Keenemunga...
Yeah, the Plymouth stations... Also, this is kind of sad, because they've regressed from that. The Plymouth station is now shut down, and it terminates in Kingston. Kind of sad, honestly.
You may have noticed one notable feature of the MBTA system that I have yet to mention, which is primarily because it is irrelevant and I don't like it. This is the Silver Line.
Yeah, join the club, buddy. The Silver Line is the most useless piece of garbage in the universe.
Which consists of 2 mid-tier rapid buses running down busy Washington Street, and 3 completely separate diesel trolleybus hybrid routes running in a tunnel between South Station and the South Boston.
They're not even diesel hybrid trolleybuses anymore. They're just diesel buses. I don't know why. Actually, well, that's a lie. I do know why they were trying to replace them. But still, like, why? Just keep the trolleybuses. The wires are still there. Can you tell I'm mad about this?
This change deletes every BRT route, including SL1, which is the Silver Line's airport connection, but frankly, there are already too many ways to get to Boston Logan, and none of them really work.
Yeah, correct.
Correct.
300% correct. There is not an APM. The airport station on the Blue Line is like a full 20-minute bus ride away, especially in really bad traffic. So... And you also have to haul your shit onto a bus, which, like, no thanks. So, yeah, I'm assuming he's proposing an APM here.
People Mover at Logan Airport would facilitate better access to the Blue Line airport station, providing passengers with a reliable connection to downtown and beyond. But these are just my thoughts. Feel free to let me know what you would do differently or suggest changes I should make to this map. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
I mean, overall, good video. Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, there's not much wrong with it. I think when I am kind of doing this fantasy commuter rail expansion, I think our commuter rail and also T expansion, I think a lot more about the commuter rail and how it kind of interlines with things and how it affects more things. I guess because I'm from the area, so I'm kind of biased. So like I think more about how it would affect things, and I think when I do it, I'm more prioritizing kind of lower cost options that are still not cheap, that's for sure, but would do the most good. So I think I'm prioritizing lower cost options. I think the one like really expensive option that I'm absolutely for is the North-South Rail Link. It blows my mind how they haven't done it yet. Like, it is such a no-brainer project. Well, it's obvious why they haven't done it. It just frustrates the hell out of me. Overall, amazing video. I apologize for the rants. Anyways, bye.